This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, underwater nightmare, trapped in a swimming pool drain.
Left arm was underneath his left leg, stuck.
A young boy fights for his life.
His lips were blue. He was dying.
Be there when a lifeguard attempts mouth-to-mouth underwater. Then, an Atlanta fire leaves panic-stricken victims.
You see all this clear air out there.
Plunging from high-rise windows on Rescue 911.
We begin on a summer day in 1988 when Michael Hike left his house in New Iberia, Louisiana, to go for a swim. An actor doubles for Michael, but the rest of the people have returned to help us reconstruct his story.
Eugenie Hike had given her 9-year-old son, Michael, permission to join his friends at the local pool. It was 16-year-old Heath Wallace's first summer as a lifeguard at the Iberia Golf and Country Club.
I was the only lifeguard on duty. The lifeguard stands are high, and so you can watch the whole pool area.
I decided I had to go run some errands. On the way, and I stopped at the country club.
Do you want to come with me?
No, ma'am.
Okay, don't go home until I come back.
Michael's mother was 8.5 months pregnant with her third child.
I figured if he was having such a good time with his friends, I was going to let him stay. So I said, you know, be careful. I'll be back.
But Michael's friends soon had to go home.
Time to go. Got to be there in 5 minutes. Let's go. Bye, Mike.
Alone in the big pool, Michael soon got bored and cold. But the 18-inch deep baby pool was always much warmer.
It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. While watching the baby pool, I noticed a 9 or 10-year-old person in the baby pool. I decided I wanted a Coke, so I walked from the lifeguard stand to the snack bar outside.
When we continued,
he was very heavy, very taut, and we were all very scared.
Walking back to my lifeguard stand, I heard the scream for help. His left arm was underneath his left leg, stuck into the drain. His head was about 6 inches under the water. His eyes were open, his lips were blue. He was dying.
When he heard the boy was in trouble, Bobby Bolden was with golf pro Eric Indest.
I couldn't visualize how it could happen until I went outside. Immediately, Bobby Bolden jumped in the baby pool. The lifeguard was trying to give Michael mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
He was very heavy, very taut, and we were all very scared.
The boy's arm had been sucked into the drain.
I went to the pump and turned it off. Then I ran back into the clubhouse to get something to bail the pool. It wouldn't take very long just to get the water below the level of his mouth so that he could breathe on his own.
The call for help came in at 4:42 p.m.
Time was really of the essence. We were not going to have a whole lot of time if this young man was going to have any kind of a chance to survive.
2 ambulances were dispatched immediately. Ed Murray was the senior paramedic.
In a situation where there's a potential drowning, you want to anticipate a cardiac arrest situation. So we generally send 2 ambulances.
Me having my arms around his chest could tell immediately that he was not getting an expansion in Michael's chest. At that point, I told his air passage is blocked. I remembered that from Boy Scouting. Clear the airways. At which point, we got a good expansion in his chest.
I remember Mr. Bobby telling me, keep on breathing for him. I just heard, keep on, don't quit. I didn't hear nothing or see anything but Michael and Mr. Bobby.
In a matter of 2.5, 3 minutes, he became more buoyant. We could feel now that he was breathing. Shortly before that, he bit me. I almost wanted to cry, but I realized his problems were a lot greater than my own.
Once Michael was breathing, they managed to untangle him from the drain.
I reached down into the water, grabbed him by his right knee, and I kind of gave it a little quarter turn, and he popped right out.
Mr. Bobby picked up Michael, and at that time, I was already backed off, up against the side, scared. I thought I did something wrong.
No one knew exactly how much time Michael had been trapped under the water, but they feared it had been too long.
The boy was unresponsive to any sort of stimuli. He did have some fluid inside his lungs. I was very concerned because it can cause a very serious complication called aspirative pneumonia. Also, because he had a loss of consciousness due to lack of oxygen, my concerns at that time were certainly about brain damage.
When the paramedics arrived, it was such a strange feeling that we had just been through this, the 3 of us, and it was drained. I sat down near the pool and just cried my eyes out.
Ready?
I just stayed at my lifeguard stand, and I didn't watch him close enough. I should have prevented the accident before it happened. I closed my eyes and I just see his face, what he looked like in the water. The eyes, the blue lips, cold look. Couldn't get that out of my head.
On the way before I got back to the country club, there was an ambulance. So I pulled over for the ambulance and I said, gosh, I hope whoever's in there is okay, not knowing that my son was in there.
En route to the hospital, he didn't regain consciousness. I was worried about cardiac complications and the fluid in his lungs at that point.
Can you hear me? Michael, look, you've been in an accident. We're taking you to the hospital. Michael, can you hear me?
I couldn't believe it, because I had just seen him. I had guilt feelings. I was so sorry, and Michael was just like such a perfect child. I became really frantic, and I said, we've got to find Morris. We've got to find Morris.
Immediately felt like, you know, the worst. I thought my kid was dead.
I was just in denial, telling myself he was going to be fine. You know, I was asking the nurses, why are you doing all this? And they said, because we have to see how much fluid is in his lungs. And that depending on that is whether or not his brain's going to start swelling, which means he'd have brain damage.
Everybody got a chance to go see him. And then I got a chance to go see him. I said, like, I love you, Michael. And, like, when I say it usually, I really don't mean it. But that time, I really meant it.
We met the doctor that is in charge. He said, I think your son is going to be fine. The lifeguard that gave your son artificial respiration, mouth to mouth, saved his life. And you need to really thank him for it.
I didn't think I deserved to be congratulated. I was just doing my job.
The young lifeguard has become friends with Michael and his family.
The cutest thing that came out of this for me was, at that time, I had become a candidate for mayor. I got a phone call from Michael. And he wanted to be my campaign agent.
Bobby Bolden was elected mayor of New Iberia.
Hey, Mom.
Michael was released from the hospital after 2 days. There was no brain damage.
When I was under there, I was thinking that my mom was going to have a baby in about a month. And I was thinking, you know, will I ever be able to see this baby? What will it be and all? And then everything just blacked out.
3.5 weeks after the accident, Michael's baby sister Eugenie was born.
Every once in a while, anytime, any place, I'll be driving along and it'll hit me that I could be driving along right now and not have my son anymore, and I'll get a little melancholy, but it's almost a feeling of gratitude that you can't put into words. I've thanked them, but I could never thank them enough. Could never thank them enough.
Next.
I knew what they were going through. When you can't get air and you see all this clear air out there, is the one way to get it, and that's to jump.
On June 30th of this year in Atlanta, Georgia, tragedy struck on the 6th floor of a sealed high-rise. Most of the footage you will see was shot by local camera people as the desperate events of that summer morning unfolded.
Yes, we have a fire on 1710 Peachtree Street, northwest in Buckhead. There are people trapped in the building.
What floor is it on?
We can't tell. They're throwing things out the windows.
We're on the way.
The first call for help came in at 10:30 a.m. There would be 20 more.
Engine 29, signal 10, 1742. You can heavy smoke on the 8th floor of a 12-story high-rise. And the front door? Hi, and they have a fire on 1718 Peachtree Street? Yes, sir, we have that. We are on the way. We have an ambulance, too. We need desperately. Somebody jump.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Rescue 15 to Metro. We need an ambulance on us. As soon as possible, we got a person that jumped out of the window.
A chain of 4 electrical explosions in a 10-story office building had set off a fire. Dozens of people on the 6th floor were trapped almost immediately.
When I seen those people in that window, I knew what they were going through, because it's very easy to panic. When you're breathing, you can't get air, and you see all this clear air out there, is the one way to get it, and that's to jump.
Michael Blackman was in an office on the south side of the building.
It was such a cold, stark realization all of a sudden that we're trapped, and there's no way out. And I think we all the people I was with, we all thought we were dead. I just picked up the chair my chair from my desk and threw it through the glass. Several of us were there at the window, gasping for air. One of the women, Cassandra, apparently didn't have any more oxygen in her lungs, and I guess the natural response is to get to where there's oxygen, and so she climbed out as though she were trying to climb out on a ledge, but there was really no ledge there, and she fell. None of us saw it coming, or certainly someone would have tried to stop her.
I felt fright, you know, for them and plus for myself, and not knowing what state of mind they were in at that time after seeing one of their co-workers plunge to the ground.
I remember stopping about a third of the way down and just holding on tight and taking a big gulp of air, and it was real sweet. And of course, at that point, we didn't know that any others had found a way to get out, so it was still a pretty black moment.
This was a 5-alarm fire. It involved 15 engines, 9 truck companies, 4 command teams, 4 rescues, our squad unit, air unit, total 134 men on the scene at one time. We've seen mass casualty incidents that were not of this magnitude. On a scale of 1 to 10, this was the 10.
The last person brought out of the hole that Michael Blackman had broken in the side of the building was Eudora Rogers.
We knew that she was unconscious when we brought her out, but we didn't realize, you know, we didn't know how bad she was. We knew that we had to get her out. On the way down the ladder, I mean, it was something that I had never experienced anything like that before in my life. I had never, did any kind of rescue like that. It seemed like every time I looked behind me, I had just that much further to go. I don't know, I just felt a closeness to her. I really did.
I had seen them bring Eudora out, and I knew she didn't look good. I didn't know if she was alive or not at that point. There was no question in my mind, but that if she was alive, she was in very serious condition.
Eudora was revived at the scene, but died 3 days later in the hospital, a victim, like most fire fatalities, of smoke and toxic gases. On the back side of the building, in an area ladders could not reach, Solomon Williams had managed to drag his unconscious friend to a window and break it out.
Okay, we got a helicopter coming. We got a road team going to you, and we can't get a ladder back here.
We got people out there.
When I came down the stairwell, I looked up and I saw him hanging in the window with his buddy. And that touched my heart. Because here's a guy that, that's near death and hanging on to a friend, and there's no one to help him.
I know, being a veteran firefighter, that people will jump because you cannot stand the intense heat and fire. Anything is better than that. I also know the fact that I had an excellent company working on another front that was 30 yards away from him, fighting 1,000-degree heat that was determined to reach him. Those men on that floor, I say with all honesty and sincerity, would have died before they come out.
I went on to the window and got to him, and I said, partner, I can't take both of you. I could just take you right now. Let's sit him down on the floor, and we'll come right back for him. He hooked his arm around my BA, and I grabbed the back of his belt, and then we took off. I just followed my hose out.
Solomon was taken to the hospital, where he was treated for seared lungs and smoke inhalation.
What he did for the gentleman that he was holding there and cradled in his arms, there's just not too many people like that I know of that would go through the pain and suffering that he did. He grabbed somebody and he went through a lot of pain and the victim didn't live. There's nobody to pat him on the back and say, you did a good job, but he did. I mean, he did more than I did up there. He's a man that's amazing to me.
Breaking the windows out is what saved their lives. If they hadn't done that, they would all perished. And as Chief Perrin spoke, if it had been a sprinkler system, it might have only been one death.
Eudora was one of the most special people I've ever known, and myself and several others have realized how much we benefited from having known her, and it almost overcomes the pain of losing her. Seeing Cassandra there with her eyes open and seeing all those people up there alive in that window, amidst all that pain and terror, those really were special, just beautiful moments. They really were.
20-year-old Cassandra Hayward somehow managed to survive her 6-story fall.
After the incident, when I really regained conscious, and at times when I was in the hospital, there were times when I would just lay there and think myself, is this really, am I really here? You know, it's still hard to believe because, I mean, when you think about what all has happened, it's really a miracle.
In my 12 years working for EMS, I've never seen a patient jump that far and survive.
Let me just kind of...
Cassandra broke both legs, her pelvis, and had severe internal injuries. But doctors feel certain that with therapy, she will walk again.
19, and one more, 20. So.
I thank God that I am here and doing as well as I am and can return to a normal life someday.
Solomon Williams is trying to rebuild his life.
That would just help from so many people. I mean, we got
It's just unbelievable. It's how people did things. Even up to say yesterday, a lady from Marietta, Georgia, came down with a teddy bear with my initials in the chest, a ladder, which I told her I wish I had when I was in the window. I mean, it was unreal. She said she just had to make it up for me.
I really felt like I had done something. I just wanted to walk around with my chest out and thinking that, you know, I'd really done something. Okay, it's really a good feeling, you know, that you were a part of saving somebody's life.
Michael Blackman and the others have already gone back to work in the same building where the fire occurred.
It was miraculous that we got out. I feel blessed. I feel like I've got a second chance. Whether it's really a miracle or just good luck, I don't know, but it was certainly fortunate for those of us that did get out.
5 people died as a result of the fire, but more than 24 others owe their lives to the Atlanta Fire Department.
Step out of the car, please.